to Rainy Day Rabbit Holes,
a uniquely Pacific Northwest podcast.
I am Shea.
And I'm Jody.
Let's fall down the rabbit hole. Hi, Jody. How's it going?
Hi, Shea. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm pretty good. What's happening with you this week?
Oh, it was a busy week at work. But
yeah.
Hey, and of course, I have multiple projects I put myself on. So,
of course, including this one.
I started another business.
Oh, yeah. Took on more responsibilities at work, I hear.
Yep. Now I have 2 jobs there.
Nice
started
job.
a business, leadership coaching, and now a podcast. So I'm busy, but it's great stuff I enjoy doing.
So I have an idea. Why don't you hire me to do something? Because I don't have hardly any work right now. I had 0 jobs this week. Guys, I work in the real estate industry, and the real estate industry right now is in a big hole. The lowest amount of mortgage applications since 1996.
Oh,
if that tells you anything. And,
I'm suffering the exact opposite. We have just been crazy in the hospitals since COVID. It's just never gone away. Even when people weren't coming with COVID, they were coming with other things. They've been full.
Is it a lot of people that put off getting health care for things during COVID and are now coming in for that sort of thing? Or they're falling apart?
Yeah, there's that. We cleaned up most of the backlog, but it just is so busy. And people are fleeing healthcare, so it's short staffing, but also every single bed is full every single day at both hospitals that I work at.
That's crazy. Well, I wish that there was some way I could get a job in the healthcare industry without getting more education. And I don't want to clean toilets.
You don't want to do that.
No, I don't. Okay.
It's pretty crazy right now. I am trying to find my way out.
Hire me as your assistant.
Yeah.
There you go. And I'll just do all of your grunt work.
I need that.
I'll
I
go
hate
do
grunt
your
work.
grocery shopping for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have somebody who does some of that.
Oh, jeez. See, you just need me. Okay.
I'm way too busy to do that stuff myself. So I do pay somebody to clean my house and other little chores.
Yeah, I don't think
tasks.
I'm quite ready to start cleaning houses yet. So cleaning my
You're
own.
not that desperate.
I'm not that desperate. Yeah. No, I'm fine. It just sucks, going from, we had 3 years of boom in the real estate industry, and it was my busiest time of my career. I'm just complaining. I'm fine.
Yep.
I know. It's difficult. Yeah. The Amazon orders used to come basically every day because I was like, I want a thing. Also, that's how I deal with stress is add to cart.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I deal with stress.
You're a shopper.
I'm a shopper. Yeah.
Stress shopper, huh?
Yes. I had a psychologist once tell me that shopping is modern man's answer to hunting and gathering.
Oh.
Because we used to be a hunting and gathering species, and now we don't do that anymore. So we have a tendency to want to shop. And I was like, that's actually an interesting theory. I'm not shopping. I'm hunting and gathering.
Yes. From now on, that's what I will be doing on Amazon.
What are you doing? Are you shopping again? No.
Daily, I hunt and gather.
I'm hunting and gathering. That banned deodorant isn't going to hunt itself. Anyways.
You use Ban? I didn't know that existed still.
I use the unscented roll-on.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah, it works great. It leaves basically no residue, and I don't stink, and I barely sweat under there, and it doesn't have any scent that competes with your perfume or anything else.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And here we go down a rabbit hole. Not a Northwest rabbit hole, but now we've gone down a
This is
not
a body odor podcast.
All right.
Well, here we are. This is episode 3 of Rainy Day Rabbit Holes, the podcast, but we are recapping day 2 of our Rainy Day Rabbit Holes road trip.
That's right. So if you remember, the end of day 1, we landed at the Itty Bitty Inn. It was probably one of the biggest highlights of the trip for me anyway. Outside of the gorgeous scenery we explored, the Itty Bitty Inn and Rick were highlights for me, just north of Coos Bay, North Bend. And then we ended the day feeling really positive. We even recorded about an hour for our podcast. It was a lot of fun and positive. We were tired, but still joyful. Mm-hmm. And so slept really well, and then started day 2.
You could have heard day 1 recap on episode 1 of this podcast. So you will hear how happy we were when we were podcasting in that room, in the Oregon Trail room at Itty Bitty Inn, drinking our complimentary IPAs that our Mama Chicken Rick poured for us. And we were super happy. So we woke up super positive and started heading on down the coast.
Yep. Didn't quite go as planned. Basically, day 2 of our trip, we recapped at the hotel later that night, but it didn't go as planned because
Why, Jody?
I was dead inside
Yes,
by the end of day 2.
Yeah.
You'll hear more about it and our stress responses. And that's one of mine. When it's all over, I die.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
done.
just looking at her face
Spent.
and there was nothing behind her eyes.
She asked if I was okay. And I'm like, oh, yeah, just dead.
Yeah.
Dead inside.
So anyway, here we are. You're going to hear our recap of day 2. Now, I just want to let you guys know, because we did record part of it before we had to give up and go to bed, I had to edit in that and then what we recorded later together. So there's a little bit of a hiccup right in the middle, right when we get to prehistoric gardens. So you'll hear that. So excuse that. Anyway, enjoy our recap of day 2 and we'll see you after the episode.
Enjoy.
Hi.
Hi, Shea.
Jesus, it's day 2.
Day 2. And what a day.
We have decided that this day is the Oregon Coast dumpster fire of a day.
But I was putting water on that dumpster fire all day.
I know, you're so positive, Jody. So maybe you want to remind the listeners of what the hell we're doing out here?
So we are taking my sister-in-law Tia's car down to San Francisco. She's moved down there from Seattle. She went ahead of us in a larger rental car so that her dog could be more comfortable on her way down. And I appreciate that. So I offered to take her car down so that Shea and I could, road trip and adventure. I thought it'd be a perfect time for us since we'd already decided to do this podcast. Thought it was a great idea. And I thought, what a great way to see Oregon.
Yeah, and it was a great excuse to have like a last summer hurrah. So you're not hearing this until October, but this is the last week of August. So it's kind of a last summer hurrah. The weather has been gorgeous. What better way to finish the summer than to drive down the Oregon and Northern California coast?
By the way, we are tonight drinking Beak Breaker. It's from Pelican Bay. It's their double IPA, and it is so delicious.
Yeah, Pelican Brewing, originally out of Pacific City. They have expanded a lot in the last 10 years. So they have a big place in Cannon Beach. And then we saw one, what was that, in Coos Bay? A huge location. I think it was Coos Bay. So they're doing really well. They have a lot of distribution in the Pacific Northwest. The Beak Breaker is always a solid IPA if you're into those IPAs. What's the percentage on this?
9%.
Ooh, holy crap.
Crap. Shea is from Minnesota or the Midwest.
Holy crap. Wait, I don't know where that's from.
Southern Belle.
Listen to our first episode that breaks down day 1 and some of the rabbit holes that we found on day 1 of this road trip on the northern Oregon coast. So we ended day 1 at the Itty Bitty Inn, which was probably the highlight of our day.
Definitely. And it was great that it was also the way we woke up that morning. We stayed there at the Itty Bitty Inn and woke up to a beautiful day, blue skies, great coffee that Rick, R-I-K, had ground for us the night before. So Shea got up and made that, and it was delicious.
So we left about 7:30-ish a.m. this morning, headed down the coast. It was gorgeous. It was sunny. It was warmish cool. Is that a thing? Warmish cool?
Warmish cool. And
Sure.
the sun was coming up. I mean, it was up, but it was still rising. It was just crisp. It was gorgeous.
There was mist.
It was like a tunnel in the trees to the road. So we were trees on both sides, road ahead of us and blue sky above us. It was just beautiful.
Yeah.
And we were playing some pub trivia to.
Oh, yeah. And our goal was to head down to Prehistoric Gardens, which is a roadside attraction that they, on their website, say they've been there since 1955, which I believe looks like something that's been there since 1955.
But on the way, we did see another attraction, the very detailed, unique wooden sculptures. They were crazy detailed. I mean, you wouldn't normally see the wooden sculptures like this.
There was a praying mantis that had to have been like 9 feet tall, a 3-headed dragon, a Groot.
A seahorse unicorn.
Oh, yeah, the seahorse unicorn that was probably 12 feet tall. There was a Groot that had to have been 20 feet tall. And at the base of the praying mantis was a stay off, no trespassing sign, which why do you put your giant statues on the side of the road and then warn people away. So we quickly stopped and took some pictures and hoped that nobody would come out with a shotgun.
I know. Here's some attention-getting art, but please
Stay
do not
away.
pay attention.
Yeah.
Anyway, we stole some pictures, and on our way, we went again, and we made it to Prehistoric Gardens.
Oh,
pretty
and by the
decent
way,
time.
don't forget, check out our Instagram. We're going to post all the pictures that we've taken on our Rainy Day Rabbit Holes road trip on Instagram. It's Rainy Day Rabbit Holes Pod. So Rainy Day Rabbit Holes Pod. And so you can see all of our pictures. So you can see these great sculptures and then all of our pictures from Prehistoric Gardens, which was pretty epic. Okay, so we're going to take a little break here. This is where we lost the will to live and had to go to bed. The following was recorded after we got home and recovered from the trip.
Part 3 of day 2. So we're going to pick up at Prehistoric Gardens, where Shea found this interesting. Is it a museum? What do we call this?
It's a roadside attraction.
There we go. Yeah.
So according to their website, it's been there since 1955, and it definitely has that flavor of something you'd be doing with the family when you were motoring down the coast on vacation in the 1950s. Super kitschy. Pretty cute. I think that kids would love it for
Absolutely.
sure. And then adults who love stupid things.
Yeah, like us.
Yeah, exactly. So this is one that was kind of on my must do list for this coast trip. You pull up, it's in the middle of nowhere off of Highway 101. Just there's nothing around, 14 miles to the nearest town. And you're greeted by Tiny the T-Rex. And this is a giant 56-foot high T-Rex statue that looks like he's straight out of the Flintstones. I'd say he was pretty cheesy.
Impressive and cheesy, yes.
Yeah, pretty cheesy. And I had decided that my goal that day was to see if I could hump every dinosaur in the place.
Shea went in with a plan.
I had
to have the camera up. And I was going to record Shea humping dinosaurs.
I was horny for dinosaurs.
What she didn't know is that they're behind bars.
I know.
As in fences.
Tiny was the only one that was accessible, and luckily there was nobody there in the parking lot when we got there. So I did get to hump that dinosaur, and then we went in, $14 each, which I actually think was reasonable for the amount of entertainment we got out of it.
Yep.
And started off, it's this beautiful, would you say it's a rainforest?
Yeah.
Pacific Northwest
It's
rainforest?
like a prehistoric garden. I mean, everything there is
Well, how about that?
And I was more fascinated by the gardens. While Shea was humping dinosaurs, I was like, wow, look at that.
Hey, I was still wowing. But then I was just feeling sad that I couldn't actually get to the dinosaurs to hump them.
Yeah. It was a very lush garden full of huge green plants. I'm assuming this is to replicate what a T-Rex would eat.
Well, no, the other dinosaurs are what the T-Rex would eat.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a carnivore?
He's a carnivore, yeah. Did you see those teeth?
No,
you were too busy watching me hump his leg.
Yes, that was my main concern.
Yeah, the plants would have been eaten by the likes of the Brachiosaurus.
Well, our dinosaur expert, thankfully, was with me and could give me these tidbits.
Why do you think I'm a dinosaur expert?
Well, I'm not. I should be. My grandkids are constantly telling me my oldest grandson is definitely a dinosaur expert.
Yeah, so he would have known the names of these. I looked at everything. The signs and then told you what the name was. Brachiosaur. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not going to go through every single dinosaur in there because that would be boring. This is not a dinosaur podcast. But the first one I will tell you about was the Brachiosaur, which is pretty impressive because it's to what they think scale would have been, and it was huge.
Huge.
And they did a pretty good job of the paint job of that one, even down to some pebbly texture in the skin, and it was a fairly believable color.
Yes.
One of very few paint
that was
jobs
not
that
the
were
theme.
Believable. No.
Not the theme there. There were multicolored dinosaurs with a giraffe print, but
green and yellow, green and reddish orange giraffe. The Triceratops was almost pink.
Yeah. Like a washed out pink.
Yeah, house paint had been used on it. It was flat.
A long time ago.
Yeah, no detail, big, flat, white and black eyes. It was bad. It was real bad.
Yeah.
It was cheesy.
I think the characters at McDonald's, and maybe the oldest ones, probably fit in with this.
Well, I think even the characters at McDonald's are slightly better because at least they had a gloss coat. I
Yes.
think it could have really used a gloss coat.
It's needed something besides a flat.
Yeah, they need to have like
Mauve.
some art school kids come in and give these things a nice paint job because most of them were pretty terrible. The ankylosaur was pretty good. And that was actually another one of the cool dinosaurs because it was huge. I did not realize that ankylosaurs were going to be that big. I mean, it's bigger than a rhinoceros. It's just giant with that big club tail.
I think the favorite one, though, the one we liked the most or oohed and awed over was the baby triceratops.
Oh, those were so cute. They did a good job
Hatching
with those.
out of their egg. Yeah, actually, it was funny to see the baby triceratops had better features and paint and detail than the bigger triceratops.
Yeah. But definitely, I would say worth going to. I'm going to get into prehistoric gardens and its history a little bit more on one of the next podcasts, just because it's a cool place. I definitely think if you're driving down the coast, stop, whether you're adult or you have kids, just go through. It's fun. A gift shop, kind of so-so.
Yeah.
Very expensive.
Very expensive.
Mostly just like dinosaur stuff, not actually branded prehistoric garden stuff.
Yeah, there was, and the other random things that didn't seem to even fit with.
There's a little crystals.
Yeah, just all of a sudden out of nowhere. And then incense.
Oh, yeah. It was like hippies and dinosaurs made a gift shop.
Yes.
Oh, and then your backpack.
Oh, I did buy a backpack there.
That is a hippie backpack.
It is a hippie backpack.
It's made of hemp.
Hemp. It's multicolored.
Yeah.
I feel
Pot leaf
trendy.
on the front, yeah.
Yes, it does have a pot leaf on
A
the
hemp
front.
leaf.
Yes, hemp leaf made in...
Oh, it was made in Nepal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't see stuff made from Nepal.
No, I'm pretty sure it's handmade, at least in my mind.
Yeah, exactly. So awesome. Yeah, so we had a good time there. Hopped back into the stainless steel Siren. Started motoring up the road. I was driving.
Yep. Made it maybe a quarter of a mile.
Maybe a quarter of a mile.
Before we heard boom, 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 and the car shaking.
Shaking, slowing down. Lights going on the dash. So,
101, Highway 101, in the middle of nowhere. We have no cell service.
No cell service. This is a windy coastal highway with no shoulder. Except for where we were. We had one little wide spot we could pull over on. So I'm like, Jody, we cannot get out and walk. We don't know where we are. We don't know how close the nearest town is because we don't have service for the map.
Right. By the way, Prehistoric Gardens is not in a town.
No,
it's nowhere.
Nowhere. There's nothing around it. There's not a single gas station, restaurant, inn, outhouse, whatever around there. It's just Prehistoric Gardens on the side of the highway. And I was like, if we try to walk, A, somebody's going to hit us and we're going to die. Or B, somebody's going to stop to help us and they're going to be a serial killer and we're going to die.
I was more worried about the fact that it was going to be 100 degrees.
Yeah, and it's starting to warm up. It's really hot, and we're like, what the hell? And, we have all our podcasting equipment and stuff in the car and the camera. We don't want to leave that. I was like, all right, flip a bitch, roll back down the hill to Prehistoric Gardens.
Luckily, that's exactly right. Luckily, we left Prehistoric Gardens and went uphill for about a quarter of a mile. So when you flip that bitch, we just rolled back on down to Prehistoric Gardens.
Yep. So, and luckily they were nice enough to let us tap into their Wi-Fi so we could start figuring out what to do. And managed to get a hold of a tow truck and waited around and shopped some more in the mediocre gift shop.
That's when I bought the backpack.
Yeah.
I would not have had that backpack if we hadn't broken down.
No. So, but we were trapped there. They let us go through again.
Yeah, they didn't even charge us for a second entry.
No, it was so nice.
They were very kind to us.
Yeah, they were really lovely.
They helped us try to get recommended people to call and gave us the passcode and to their Wi-Fi and let us go again and then chit-chatted with us as well.
Yeah, they were really nice. They're like, what are you doing?
This is how far out of town it is. They live an hour away from work.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's bad. And that's not because of traffic.
No, not because of traffic.
Yeah.
Right.
Geez, that's a lot to go work at Prehistoric Gardens. I hope they pay their employees decently.
Exactly what I was thinking.
So, yeah, we got a tow truck comes rolling in, saves us.
Yep.
Get to Precision Auto, where the mechanic proceeds to crush my soul.
Yeah, he was so unbothered by our
Predicament.
Was just, so that happens and that sucks and I got things to do.
Yeah, he was like, well, it's an Audi, so we don't really have parts here, and I'm too busy today to look at it, so I should be able to get around to looking at it tomorrow, but, because we don't have parts for Audis, if it needs parts, it could be a couple of days, because we got to get them in, and we're just like, dude, did you not hear me say, like, we are driving from Seattle to San Francisco.
And we have a plane to catch.
We have a plane to catch on Saturday, and we're trapped here. This is a tiny town with very little services.
Like, there's nothing around Precision Auto either.
Yeah.
Like, for us to just walk away with our stuff and go find somewhere to stay or eat or anything would not work.
No, we'd have to walk on the highway. And again, highway, and it's busier there than it was back at Prehistoric Gardens. Like, it's highway. And there's unless we walked up the beach. Can you imagine us, like, dragging our bags up the beach like a couple of bums? Yeah, I mean, at that point, I'd be like, well, let's take a risk with the serial killers and just hitchhike.
Right. You'd go past your biggest fear? The 101 serial killers?
My biggest fear might be walking 5 miles in the sun on the highway with my luggage.
That was my fear.
Yeah. So he's like, oh, well, if you're looking for a place to stay, there's a Motel 6 right around there. I was like, oh, God, I don't think I could handle Motel 6 for 3 days. And he's like, well, we can probably give you a ride in, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah. Well, how do we get
buddy,
there?
thanks.
Well, I mean, I first asked, is there an Uber or a taxi or anything here? And he said, no. We said, well, how do you suggest we get to the hotel? And he's like, someone here could probably drive you when we're not busy. What time of the day is that? Like 10 a.m. by this point? I mean, It wasn't late.
Yeah, maybe like 11, something like that. Yeah. So then he's like, well, there's one place in town that has a couple of cars to rent. Hands us a card. And of course, nobody's answering the phone.
Yeah.
So we're just sitting there. We sit around some more trying to figure out what we're going to do. Where are we going to go stay? Because at this point, I was like, we just need to get a hotel because we're stuck. Like, let's go get a hotel and let's go get some drinks. And
Shea actually was like, okay, we got to get jobs, find somewhere to live. We are stuck here forever.
I was like, what happens if they can't get the parts? Like, how do we get out of this town? It was like, now it's like a Stephen King novel where you can't leave the town.
Yeah,
like every time you try to leave, you just are all of a sudden in the middle of the town again.
That's exactly what it was like. Exactly what it was like. We went, so finally the rental car people call back and Shea answers the phone, and here is the opportunities we have for a car rental.
Yeah, so there's a 2012, I think, Toyota Corolla, or was it an Avalon?
Avalon first.
Avalon. For $120 a day, or for $79 a day, we could get a 2002 Subaru Outback. So
we chose the Outback.
And another half an hour goes by, and lady rolls up, takes a picture of Jody's ID, insurance card, swipes her credit card, hands us the keys, and leaves.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure this is their personal vehicle.
Yeah. There's trim falling off. I mean, it was clean.
It was totally clean and ran so well. I mean,
yes.
A Sub. So this old car ran as well as the Audi was running. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I put my foot into it. It was a good car.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I mean, it was rough, in rough physical shape.
Yes.
And it still had a cassette player.
Yes.
Yeah. So they left a kind of elevator music CD in there.
Yeah. We tried it.
It's pretty bad.
It was supposed to elevate your mood.
No, it did not.
Yeah.
It did not help. So rolled down the coast into Gold Beach going, all right, like, let's find a hotel. Gold Beach is a tiny little blip. Friend of mine had just gone down the coast a couple days earlier, and he's like, we'll go to Brookings. There's more options. So we're like, all right, half an hour down the coast to Brookings. And sure, there were options, but they were not better options.
No, they were not. No. The whole town was not what we expected.
No, definitely a town that probably has a little... No, I'm not going to say it.
Yeah,
I'm just going to be nice.
It's not a happy looking town.
No, it's a pretty sad looking town. So we did finally find a hotel that looked halfway decent down in the marina. And at that point, we were just so dejected that we were like, it's $200 fine.
We probably should have stopped before.
And gotten something to eat.
And got something to eat. It might have changed our mood and our thought process. Because when we did finally get this hotel, it was a suite, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Second story suite.
Yeah, there was even a view of the water. And also the crab pots.
The crab pots, the marina, everything else.
Yeah, and it smelled like dead seal.
Yes. Oh, yes, it did.
Yeah.
We had to air it out, but the air came from outside where the dead seal was.
Yeah, that was a problem. And it was hot outside, so it made it worse.
It was a thing. But we were like, we chose this place. One of the reasons we chose this place, or just said, this is it, was there was a Mexican restaurant in the parking lot. Shared a parking lot. And we were like, chimichangas, margaritas.
Yeah, let's go get margarita drunk and forget about this day.
We can't go anywhere. We can't do anything. So we're just going to get drunk and work on this podcast or whatever.
Watch HBO, yeah.
Yeah, watch our free HBO.
Right.
And as soon as we start digging into the chimichanga, and I've only had probably 3 sips of my giant margarita, and Precision Auto calls. And he says, I have bad news for you. I was like, oh, okay, not my car. So.
You're
I
like,
guess the bad news is I got to find another rig.
shit, we are stuck here for days.
Yeah.
Shay was right.
But then he said, just kidding. It was just a coil.
Ignition coil and spark plugs.
And spark plugs, yes. But all of a sudden the car's ready. Now it's like 1:00 and we've got a hotel for the night.
That we already paid $200 for and $79 for the stupid car. Yeah, we should have just gone and gotten something to eat.
Giant margaritas in front of us that we can't drink now because we have to drive 30 minutes back to Gold Beach.
45 minutes back to the auto care place because it was 15 minutes out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
It was silly.
Yeah, so we were like, oh, guess we can't drink these. We were able to get there, pick the car up, no problem.
And they wouldn't give us the margaritas in a to-go cup.
No,
I did ask.
Can you hold them for us? We'll be back in an hour.
Sorry, we can't do that. I was like, oh, God damn it.
Yeah.
Right there. We could just put them in the hotel.
Right? We literally why didn't we bring our water bottles?
I know.
But picked it up. It was a breeze, no problem, and headed back to our hotel room in Brookings. But what the highlight of the day is from Gold Beach to Brookings is probably for our whole trip the most spectacular coastline.
Mm-hmm.
It was every time you came around a corner, whoa, that is beautiful.
Yeah, we kept pulling over in fact, we pulled over at one twice because we were like, that's so beautiful. Oh, we've been here before.
Yes, because we drove it down from Gold Beach to Brookings to get our hotel. We drove it back to Gold Beach to get the car back and then give back the rental car. And then we drove it back to Brookings where our hotel was. So we saw this beautiful, magnificent coastline 3 times. Mm-hmm. The pictures will not do justice.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
In that you're just tiny there.
Yeah. So at that point we were like, well, shit, we already paid $200 for this thing. Let's just have a couple drinks and go down and walk on the beach and enjoy it. So we tried to podcast. You already heard part 1 of day 2 where we set up in the hotel room, but about halfway through we lost the will to live. Mm-hmm. And went to bed. So that was the end of day 2. Beautiful beach down there in Brookings. Beautiful sunset.
You're away from the things that we found depressing-ish.
Yeah.
You're just in the beauty. And so we were able to walk down there. We were down there for sunset, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
I did sunset with Shay.
Aw, that's nice. All right, Jody. So let's go ahead and stop here at the end of day 2. It kind of made me tired just listening to it.
That's a good idea. Did you find any rabbit holes on day 2, though?
I did. So I really enjoyed Prehistoric Gardens, and I wanted to find out more about that, but there wasn't really a ton. So next episode, maybe not next episode, one of the next episodes, I'll tell you about what I did find. But the rabbit hole that I really fell down was about Oregon serial killers. Mm-hmm. And I promise this is not a true crime podcast. But when we broke down there on the side of Highway 101, and I was having a little bit of a panicky moment, and I was imagining if we tried to walk on Highway 101, that we would either A, be killed by a speeding car, or B, we would try to hitchhike and we would get picked up by a nice farmer or something, and then he would take us back to his cellar and try to murder us, and then we would have to form weapons out of like horse bridles and saddles or something, and then fight our way to safety. That was my little fantasy that I was having.
Or be fed to the pigs. Like that would be our choice. That would be our choice.
Fed to the pigs. So I started Googling to see if there were any serial killers that had been active on Highway 101 or on the Oregon coast. And so I ended up finding out some really interesting and creepy info. So I will tell you about Prehistoric Gardens and my new Oregon serial killer info on the next episode. Now, I'm not going to get into any gory details. I'm not going to describe how anybody was murdered or anything like that. I'm not into telling you guys about that. There's plenty of true crime podcasts out there for you. But this was interesting information that I did not know, and I have listened to a lot of true crime podcasts.
Well, I'm really glad to have learned this after, because that was not my first thought when the car broke down was about the serial killers. And now hearing this, I may have had a different response than the cool cucumber I appeared to be at first.
Yeah, this is not a dinosaur podcast or a true crime podcast, but I'm going to talk about both next time. So
great. I can't wait. I'm really excited about it. You know, I read Anne Rule when I was a child. I've loved all these true crime, and the ID channel has been on my TV in the background for years. My children make fun of me. So yes, I'm intrigued and excited.
And I do find it funny that it is kind of the thing now, seems to be, especially with women of a certain age.
Yeah.
Where we relax by listening to a nice podcast about how somebody was dismembered or watching a nice documentary about how 18 women were, killed and buried in a basement.
Yep.
So yeah, we're sick. We're just sick people.
That's relaxing for us.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, that's it for our show for day 2. It was an adventure for sure. We survived. We learned some things. We grew personally, really, Shea. We can survive. We know that. We have more confidence now. And next Wednesday, tune in for Shea's Rabbit Hole.
Please follow us on Instagram at Rainy Day Rabbit Holes Pod to see all the pictures that go along with our episodes. You can also email Jody to give her more dinosaur information at jody@rainydayrabbitholes.com.
Or you can email Shea to give her life coaching advice and maybe some trauma recovery tools at Shea@rainydayrabbitholes.com.
Make sure to subscribe to our podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And we will see you next time.
See you down the rabbit hole.